male subject towards the rear of the vehicle, and he has like a screwdriver, and he's removing his license plate, his rear license plate from his vehicle.
And I was thinking it's going to be a stolen car, and he's going to go pursue, because I wanted to be involved in a pursuit. I wanted to call one from the other way.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because you obviously your dispatch, you had received it. Now you want to call. That's funny. Smart. I like it.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that's something we're looking for, right? I mean, even somebody in the general public would look at that and go, that's suspicious.
Yeah.
That's
not
odd.
normal.
Yeah. You know, so if somebody wasn't going to call in on him, you know, obviously we on view that. So, I pull into the Dollar General gas station, and he's kind of nosed into the store.
It's not a gas station.
I'm sorry, it's not a gas station, but
convenience store.
Convenience store. He's nosed in, with his like front headlights facing like the front doors. I pull up kind of behind him. It's busy. At this time of day, it's summer. It's around 7:30 p.m., so it's still light outside. And I kind of get out and almost take him by surprise when I contact him, almost basically tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, what's up, man? What are you doing?
County 3, I'm out with 1 at Dollar General. 10-4. County 3, quick for 1 by Caldwell. Go for
10 for which Dollar General? Corning, Los Molinas, or Roberta?
Los Molinas.
Go ahead with it.
And as a deputy, you know, I'm sure guys who work in rural counties know this, like the way you carry yourself and the way you interact with people kind of like can lower, you know, their guard or stimulation or whatever. You know, you just kind of, you have this almost lackadaisical attitude, you know, and I had kind of like mastered that by that time by watching other senior officers and things like that, you know, so I'm just like, hey, this is weird. Like, what are you doing? And at first, you know, he's startled by me, and I explained to him that why I'm contacting him, because he's removing his license plate, and he kind of tells me, well, hey, it's my license plate, you know, I can take it off. And I'm like, well, no, you can't. You can't drive around, you know, without a real license plate. And I explained to him that, you know, we have stolen cars. People do this often with stolen cars. I straight up tell them, I'm like, a lot of times people take their license plates off because they want to conceal the fact that they're driving a stolen car. And he even agrees with me. He's like, okay, yeah, I see your logic there. And he's not like overly nervous. That's a question I get asked a lot is, you know, was there like major signs that this guy was like ready to be homicidal or anything like that? And there wasn't. I wasn't picking up on any of that. And so I immediately do a pat search of him, make sure he doesn't have any weapons. And while I'm patting him, I actually get him to consent to a search for anything illegal. So I reach into his pockets. He has a little bit of marijuana, but nothing alarming, no ammunition, you know, no controlled substances or anything like that.
Nothing where either one of you would probably have been concerned, him or you.
Yeah, exactly. So after that, I run his name, and he comes back valid and clear out of the area. I kind of ask him a few more questions like, you know, where's he going? Yeah, because where his address was and where he told me he was living was about 3 hours from where we were. So I kind of ask him, you know, what are you doing in this area? Like, what's your plans? And he basically tells me that he left his residence, he drove to where he is now, and now he's going to go back.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's a little weird, right?
Yeah, so obviously, you know, there's some red flags there. And and in my mind, I'm thinking probably drug trafficking.
For sure.
You know, I asked him if I could see his registration. And so he walks over to his driver's side, opens the door, leans in towards his glove box. At that time, I'm kind of scanning, looking in his car. I don't see anything. There is a big blanket or sleeping bag in the back seat that's kind of concealing a bunch of items back there that I can't see. And then I'm also watching his hands, right? You know, we got to watch the hands. They're deadly.
Yeah. Yep.
So he removes his registration. He's the registered owner of the vehicle. So I'm at this point, you know, but one thing that I do remember is an overwhelming smell of marijuana. And at the time, my canine Booker was, like I said, he was a dual purpose canine. So he's drug certed. And obviously, if I ran him around that car, he's going to obviously alert, because at the time in 2018, laws are a little different now, but you know, he was certified to alert to the odor of marijuana.
Yeah.
So,
So he's probably already smelt it in the car, sitting in your car.
Yeah, because he's in the back seat. So, so I elect, you know, I bring him back to my vehicle. I basically tell him like, hey, you know, how much marijuana do you have in your car? I could obviously smell it. He tells me, oh, I just have like a little bit. He won't give me an exact number of how much he has. So I ask him for consent, and he says no. I tell him then that I have probable cause to search, so I'm going to do that. he's reluctant, kind of tries to argue with me a little bit about it, but ultimately, he complies, and I tell him to have a seat on my push bumper. So he sits down. I walk over to the rear passenger door so I can start my search where I can still kind of see him in my peripheral based on where my patrol vehicle was positioned. And when I go to open the door, I hear it lock, and he has the keys in his hand.
Oh.
So I say, hey, hand me your keys. And I start walking towards him. And he goes, oh, I'll just unlock it for you. And he goes to kind of walk by me towards the driver's side, and I go to grab the keys out of his hand. At this point, he's, becoming non-compliant, but almost, his words are saying he's complying, but his actions are telling me something else.
Yep.
So he kind of makes a beeline towards his car. I try and grab him. He pulls out of my grasp. I remember grabbing the back of his shirt. He was wearing a t-shirt, and it just rips off of him. Like the t-shirt, it just totally tears off. So I lose my grip, and which allows him to jump in the driver's seat of his car. When he jumps in the driver's seat of his car, I try one last ditch effort. I punch him as hard as I can in the back of the head, hoping it knocks him out. Cause obviously, a lot of things are going through my mind. Like, one, this car's not searched. I don't know what's in this car. Two, he gets into his motor vehicle and goes pursuit. He's going to endanger the public and me and everybody else. So I don't want him to get in behind the wheel and take off. Ultimately, it doesn't knock him out, apparently. And that's, something my buddies like to joke with me about is, if I could punch harder or fight better, I would have never got shot. So it's, that is true.
Yeah.
So how law enforcement goes.
Yeah.
So during all this, Haley, are you sitting in the passenger seat? Are you out of the car?
Yeah, so I'm just sitting in the passenger seat, and whenever he starts talking to him, at some point I roll down the window just a little bit enough so I can hear, but it's just very routine. I'm kind of halfway listening until he gets in his struggle with him. That's when I grab the radio and I say something along the lines of that he needed code 3 back and that the guy was trying to get away.
He needs code 3 back, subject's trying to leave.
Confirming code 3 back at Dollar General.
390 was requesting code 3 back.
Copy, that was his partner, A-firm.
10-4, we're running out codes from the range.
And at the time, there was also another female, she was a reserve at the time, riding with another deputy somewhere else. So they were trying to figure out who it was, just because, just catching a little bit.
Yeah, so so what she's talking about is you got to think, I've been talking on the radio using my call sign, which was 390 at the time. And then all of a sudden, Haley grabs the radio and says, 390 needs, I think it was something similar to 390 needs code 3 back, subject's trying to leave. Mm-hmm. And so dispatch is going, who was that?
And they probably recognize your voice, right?
They didn't.
They didn't at the time. They were probably on a call because we only have 2 dispatchers and they do everything at once. It's not just like a call taker or just radios.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so did they know that you were on a ride along at the time? Or
they did know that. Yeah. So, so there's kind of some confusion. The dispatcher comes on the air and kind of says, confirming 390 needs a back. Mm-hmm. And then, or something similar to that. And then another.
The deputy that had the reserve with him, he said that it was 390 needs code 3 back, and he was en route.
Yeah.
And how far away was he?
He was
in Rancho Tehama. So what is that? About 20 minutes away.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's quite a distance when you need code 3 cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know what code 3 cover means, it's lights and sirens. You need emergency help.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Haley puts that radio traffic out. He gets in his vehicle. He has limo tent around the interior of his car. So as soon as he shuts the door, I hear it lock, and I pull the handle a couple of times. It won't open. So I'm in a bad spot. I don't want to be right next to him. If he takes off, runs me over or whatever. And I hear the car start. And oddly enough, I didn't know this till afterwards, but I had his keys in my hand. So I was just close enough right there trying to open the car that he was able to remote start.
A push button.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's a newer car. And so I didn't know that till afterwards. And I saw some photos and saw his keys on my floorboard. When I went to hop in my car, I must have just thrown them on my floorboard. And so that's exactly what I do. I retreat back to my vehicle, which is close. It's about 15 feet away from his. And I get into my car. He's backing up. I'm thinking, here we go. The pursuit's on.
And Haley's stoked because
she's pumped. Yeah, exactly. And, it's a rural county. We would chase cars, at least then, till the wheels fell off. As long as he wasn't extremely endangering, driving in opposing lanes of traffic. We got in a lot of pursuits. That's how I got a lot of dog bites was, foot bails after pursuits, violent pursuits. So, so at that point, everything's good. Okay, here we go. I'll chase him down then, But ultimately, as soon as he starts reversing, he doesn't make it just a few feet back, and I see his driver's window roll down almost all the way. I remember there being about 4 to 6 inches probably of some window still up, and I see the muzzle of a rifle. I can see the stock of the rifle. I can still see it in my mind, clear as day, and it's almost immediately recognizable as an AK-47. And I think the first thing I said was like shit or fuck, because I was like, no way, And so we're both seated in the car, facing, his profile essentially. So because he's backing up this way, rifle out, and we're nosed this way.
So you guys are your cars are facing each other.
No, sorry.
He was backing out and we were.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were all, if you could have T-boned him.
Yeah. So if I'd have
basically.
put it in drive, I could have T-boned him. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good way to explain it. So I immediately push Haley down.
And I wasn't wearing my seatbelt because every time he would stop somebody, I just had a routine. I just take my seatbelt off. No real reason. I just in case I needed.
Yeah, for sure.
Needed to duck for cover.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking that.
Yeah.
Time, but yeah.
Yeah. So I immediately push Haley. Excuse me. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Read some. I swear I'm not getting choked up.
That's all good.
No, you're good, dude.
So I immediately push Haley down and try and lean over her because simultaneously I feel heavy rounds coming through the windshield, just heavy bullets. And one of the first bullets that comes crashing through actually strikes me just above my left ear and hits the left side of my head. And I'm assuming it went through the dash or something because something had to slowed it down since it didn't just continue to travel through my brain because it actually stopped somewhere in my skull. And it's still in there. They never removed it. So, but it kind of makes everything white. I see this white light. I don't see a black light or anything, but so it doesn't knock me out, but it's everything's a little fuzzy. And just more rounds are just coming through, round after round after round after round. And I remember drawing my gun, as I'm leaning over to my right side, which is obviously uncomfortable and hard to do, difficult to do, but it's something that I always trained on, And I remember drawing my gun, and in my mind, I had tried to put some suppressive fire downrange with my pistol to where he was to try and, slow him down from shooting. But ultimately I couldn't. And so I just remember, at first, feeling a lot of fear, holy shit, I'm going to freaking be Swiss cheesed in this car. He's going to kill my girlfriend, and, just thinking, how could I let this happen? I'm just, when you're in a critical incident and I'm sure you guys know, you'll have 3 minutes of thoughts in, 30 seconds.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking about my family, my children, and the fact that I'm going to freaking die and never get to even fire my weapon.
Yeah.
So I kind of get over my pity party real quick and I start to get angry. And I just, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I've been shot a few times. I can feel that I've been shot. If I'm going to die, he's going to die too, and I'm going to stop the killing. I'm going to stop the killing because if he's willing to do this to me, what's he going to do in this crowded parking lot? He's going to kill my wife. If he gets away, he's going to kill other officers. Stop the killing. So I somehow roll back. I exit my vehicle. So now I'm just outside my car. Now he must have saw me maneuver because I can tell that the rounds are more directed to where I'm at. I actually do a tap rack and eject a live round on the ground because I had told medics or somebody on scene, I had a freaking gun malfunction. I couldn't shoot. And then looking back, I think what happened was just I couldn't physically shoot because I was faced with so much gunfire my way that in my mind, I'm like, I need to fix this gun. Like it's not working.
Yeah.
So I my gun was obviously working. I eject a live round on the ground. I come up to shoot over my hood because now he's continuing to back. He actually hits a couple parked cars. So now he's almost, over to my, passenger side at an angle. But as soon as I come up, he shoots, a few more rounds. I can't even get a round off. So I retreat. I like to retreat around the passenger side of my car. I feel myself get shot in the back a couple times when I do that. And I just continue to maneuver around the exterior of my car. The rounds are going completely through my windshield, through my canine cage, and even blowing out the rear glass of my hatch of my Ford. I had a Ford Explorer. So the rounds are coming completely through my car. I maneuver around to the passenger side and immediately just start engaging him when I round that corner. And ultimately, when I started putting a lot of rounds into his vehicle, into that driver's side, one of the first rounds that I shot, I remember it shattering that little bit of the window that was up. And his total demeanor changed. I see the gun, I see him throw the gun kind of to the passenger seat. And now he's like, I got to get the hell out of here. He's trying to bail. So I'm aggressing him, on foot, just chasing up to his car, trying to run up. And I remember seeing like a brown fuzzy blur, run by me as I'm doing this. And then playing it back in my mind, I'm like, holy shit, that was my dog.
Oh, fuck.
Somehow my dog got out, and he's trying to window deploy into this guy's freaking car as we're engaged in a heavy gun battle.
Yeah.
And so I shoot multiple times. He ultimately jumps a curve, drives through a little field, and then makes it back out to 99 and goes northbound. And that was the worst feeling in the world, watching him drive away, because I'm like, oh, fuck, man. This guy, he just tried to murder me. He might have murdered me. I still might die. He probably just murdered my wife. He's now on the loose, heavily armed. And, at this point, I don't know if he's hurt or wounded or anything. And, I let him get away, and so that was a really defeating feeling. And, but I stop and run back to my vehicle to check on Haley. And at this point too, I hadn't put out any radio traffic.
Yeah.
So Haley puts out the, code 3 back, subject's trying to leave, no radio traffic because obviously I was busy. I had work to do. And so I go open up her passenger door and I see her kind of on the floorboard. And when I open the door, she reacts to me. And this is another image because there's a few images that just are burned into my brain. And, her just the fear that I saw in her. And I'm sure she'll be able to tell you more about that. But, I think she was expecting someone else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting him when he opened the door. I thought it was the guy that was shooting at us. And then I just saw blood coming from his head. And I remember him opening it and he's like, are you okay? And he's like, I'm okay. And I kept saying, I'm like, no, you're fucked up. And that's what I kept telling him.
Yeah.
It's really reassuring.
Yeah. So, I see her and I'm like, man, she's in one piece. And I'm like, hey, are you shot? Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I didn't get shot. I'm fine. That's what she tells me. And I'm like, yeah. And then at that point I start doing an assessment on myself, mentally. And I'm like, I'm okay too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can think, I can breathe. So my lungs aren't affected by any bullets. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And she's like, no, you're fucked up. You're messed up. And I'm like, well, yeah, at this point I can feel blood like a faucet running down my arm and, blood coming out of my head. And so I know I'm wounded obviously, but, the fact that I could I didn't really feel any pain, that was the thing. I guess I would describe it as some burning hot. I almost got burned in my shoulder, got burned in my head. But, I had a bunch of frags and shrapnel and glass in my covering my left arm, but probably when I leaned over. Yeah. But other than that, I felt totally fine. But obviously I can, so I try and get out on the radio after she's okay. And
you do get out on the radio. You just can't hear because he lost his earpiece.
Yeah. Yeah. So the round that I wear an earpiece and I still do to this day over my left ear. And the round kind of hits that, breaks it. Another round broke my my Bluetooth lapel mic. The siren's going off because one of the rounds that he shot did something and set the siren off. You know, I never activated it. So it's chaos, you know, and so I'm trying to put out, hey, shots fired, 1199, you know.
1199, shots fired, 1199.
Copy, 1199, shots fired. Dollar General, Los Lunas.
1199, shots fired, 1199.
Dispatch, this is Zach.
Hey, where's the code 3 back?
Dollar.
Oh, shit.
Dollar General on 99W. 7921. 79.
Somebody out there.
1199, shots fired. Good night, 1199, shots fired, 1199. Coming to you.
390, you have multiple coming to you.
Guys, I'm hit.
I hear nothing. You know, my car radio is broken.
Oh my God.
My side pack in my mind isn't working, but it's still connected to my Bluetooth that's broken. So it's not transmitting out, even though I pulled it off. I'm not hearing it. So if I would have pulled my Bluetooth out, I probably would have heard it. But so they're responding to me.
Oh, so they can hear it.
They could hear you.
Oh, okay. You just don't know
we
that
brought
they can
that
hear
audio, so I'm sure you guys can play it.
We'll play the audio for you guys.
Yeah, and so, you know, I put it out a few times, like 1199 shots fired, you know, county 1199 shots fired, nothing. And I'm like, these freaking bastards, like, come on. Like,
oh, yeah.
You know, like in my mind, I'm like, they don't know what's going on, you know, and this guy's on the loose, you know, and I don't know what he's doing. My car is completely disabled. So it's not like I could freaking start it off and take off after him. My dog's gone.
Yeah. Where's your dog at this point?
Yeah. So one of the rounds that he shot, and for anybody that's a canine handler, like most have on their passenger side door, a door pop.
Yeah.
So it actually goes in and hits that like almost spring and opens the door.
The hydraulic.
Yeah. The hydraulic. So it opens that door. And so he gets out. He's like, I'm free, you know?
Oh my God.
And let me at him, you know? So he's running up to the car, trying to jump in. Doesn't get in. So the last image I have of Booker is he is sprinting down Highway 99 after this guy's car. You know, like, I got him, you know, like, you know, so, and then so at one point I tell, you know, in my mind, I'm like, I need to give Haley something to do so she doesn't worry about me. Cause
he had somebody come out of the store to come help him.
Yeah.
That like knew what he was like kind of doing.
Yeah. So this guy named Andrew Martin, is like just a Samaritan, good Samaritan, comes out of the store and comes up to me after like I tried the radio traffic, it doesn't work. And he comes up to me and goes, hey man, like, you know, I've had some combat training. I think he was in the military and some kind of corpsman training. And I always carry, and I still do today, a quick clot and a tourniquet in my right,
cargo pocket or
cargo
whatever.
pocket. That's the word I'm looking for. And so I immediately assess the fact that I have, you know, an upper back kind of almost armpit wound. So obviously a tourniquet's not going to help me. Can't put a tourniquet around my head. So I removed my quick clot. I kept a spare in the glove box. So I grabbed both of those out and I start stripping my gear off. And this Andrew, actually, I talk him through packing my wound. You know, fortunately for me, being on a SWAT team, I got extra training on, you know, combat medicine and stopping bleeding. So I'm like, hey, dude, you got to put your finger, because he's like, hey, you got 2 gunshot wounds right back here. And I'm like, hey, you got to put your finger in there, man, and just stuff that thing so it stops bleeding. So him and a couple other citizens come along and they help me, and he gets my bleeding completely controlled and kind of, I think, puts me in like a recovery position or something.
I'm looking for the dog while this is
Yeah.
You are?
I'm talking to people in the bushes.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I tell Haley, I'm like, hey, go find Booker, you know, like, cause I'm like, I don't want her to see me like this, especially if I'm about to die, you know, like I don't want her to see me like this. So I'm like, go find Booker. And she gives me this look like, are you serious? Like, you know, and she can't find him, you know.
It's because somebody else, another deputy, picked him up.
Yeah. So the first deputy,
We had CHP on scene within a few minutes of it happening.
Yeah. Yeah. They were on a crash nearby. And so the first deputy's driving code 3 and sees this Malinois in the middle of the road. And he's like, dude, I'm going to freaking run this dog over. What's it doing? And then he's like, holy shit, that's Booker, you know? And so he stops, loads him up in his car, and then drives to the scene.
Good God.
So once Haley comes back and I'm kind of like stable, we kind of have a quick conversation, and I'm like, hey, they don't know what's going on. You need to put out, you need to call them and put out, like, let them know what's up. So Haley actually calls dispatch.
Well, first I tried the radio. I grabbed his radio.
Oh, that's true.
And I
Yeah.
tried
Like
to get
his
out.
handheld on his duty belt.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, I didn't hear anything. So you can hear in the radio traffic that I was trying to get to them and they were talking back to me, but I couldn't hear it. So then I end up calling them and I kind of give her the rundown. I say where he went, how he went northbound. I gave a description on the vehicle, that he's armed, kind of gave a little update on Ryan.
Yeah.
Sheriff's Department, Sergeant Becker, help you.
It's me, Haley.
Haley,
I need to speak with somebody in dispatch if I can.
okay, hold on just a minute. I'll put you on with Wilma.
Haley, we're answering you, but you guys aren't hearing us. How's he doing?
He's okay. He's been shot a couple of times. Did you hear that the guy went northbound?
No, and what color was that vehicle?
I was an AK-47.
Uh-huh.
Gray in color, grayish silver. He took his plate off. He was in the middle of taking his plate off. So there's no plate on it.
Units responding to the shots fired. The suspect went northbound on 99E. He is in a gray Honda. He took his plates off, and we're getting multiple calls of reckless drivers headed past Eldred. Did you copy that? Okay, he's AK with an AK-47.
Yes.
And be advised, the subject is armed with an AK-47. Got it. Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Yeah. So then at that point, simultaneously, they're getting calls of like reckless drivers in that area. So he's still moving northbound. A CHP officer is able to get behind him and he kind of trails him because he's hauling. He traveled 21 miles until he ultimately crashed and in 13 minutes. So he was moving. He crashes at some point just north of Red Bluff. And they kind of stand by, do a pause, and then get enough personnel there, and then they move towards the vehicle, and he's found dead in the vehicle.
Because they did have citizens that were stopping to go help him
Oh,
until
yeah.
the officer said,
Get back.
he just shot a cop.
Yeah.
Get back.
Yeah.
So so when he crashes and then they obviously don't want to rush the vehicle.
Yeah, he crashes on I-5 too, so a lot of traffic.
Okay. Did when they ultimately ran up to the car or made their way up to the vehicle, what was his condition?
He was dead.
He was dead.
Yeah.
How did he end up dying?
So I actually ended up shooting him 5 times. One of the rounds actually went through both of his lungs.
Wow.
So he was bleeding out. He did, right before he died, he took a handgun and shot himself in the head.
Wow.
Right before, obviously, he crashed, or maybe after he crashed. That's kind of unclear. The doctor that did his autopsy, I mean, I don't think this is anything shocking to any of us, but, they're like, oh man, these wounds that he got from you shooting him, he should have been dead in 90 seconds max. But of course he lived, 13 minutes or whatever. So,